So this week I bought some guitars on Amazon. I actually bought 20 guitars on Amazon this week. I always know students who are starting up, whether they're mine or some other teachers' students, and these will go fast to some of those students. I can't pronounce the name of the brand. It's a brand I haven't seen before, so I'll just place the name at the bottom if you want to check them out for yourself. I will have links for each guitar in the bottom. Now you see 4 guitars behind me, but I bought 5 of each model. And the reason I did that, it's a brand new company that I haven't seen before. And one good way to find out if a company makes good instruments is to look at multiples of the same model. Because if you just buy one instrument, then you might just get lucky and get a good one, or you might get unlucky and get a bad one. But if you have multiples of the same model, then if most of them are good, that's a good sign. If most of them are bad, that's a bad sign. I gotta say that with this purchase of 20 instruments, only one of them had to go back. So to me, that's great. So out of 20, only one, it had a crack in the heel. That was either from the factory or maybe on the truck, the box fell and the heel cracked. And all the others were great to keep, but most of them needed some adjustments, so I'll talk about that in a minute. So anyways, each guitar was well under $100, which is great for somebody who's starting out. And each guitar came as a bundle with an instrument, a gig bag, installed strap buttons, which is great, a strap, extra set of strings, cleaning cloth, a couple of picks in there, and a truss rod wrench, because they do have truss rods on there, which is great. So in this video, I'm gonna show you each model, show to you what it looks like, what it sounds like a little bit, and then share some closing thoughts at the end of the video. Feel free to check the links at the bottom if you want to look at some of these instruments for yourself, and let me know if you have any questions or comments at the bottom. Also, if you're not subscribed to my channel, feel free to subscribe. Thank you very much for doing that. So let's start with the natural one right there. So this is a folk size instrument. What that means, folk size is a little bit smaller than a full size, but not as small as a 3/4 size. So it's just a little bit smaller, very comfortable to hold and play. Suitable for maybe a teenager, early teen even, or an adult who's looking for an instrument that's easier to hold and play. So natural color, just looks like mahogany, but this is not mahogany. All of this wood is probably just basswood, top and sides and back. The neck is probably whitewood or basswood as well. So nothing very expensive, because these were all under $100. This particular one I think was like $70-ish, which with free shipping and the bundle that I mentioned is actually a pretty good deal if you ask me, for somebody who's starting out. The strings are new, so they're still stretching. That's pretty close. So let me just strum a bit so you get to hear the sound a little bit. Bit hard for me to play on this instrument because I have big fat fingers, and I'm a classical guitarist, as some of you know, so I get big frets on my guitar and a wide neck, but this is normal for an acoustic, so it's nothing out of the usual here. So here we go. That's the first model. One thing I liked, some of these inexpensive instruments, you have the bridge lift off, and the fact that they added reinforcements here, that helps a lot, at least for a while. So that's a good sign. The bridge is nice and tight over there. So that's the first one. This is folk size, natural color. It's got kind of a nice jumbo shape, even though it's not a jumbo size. It's got with a bottom bout a little bit larger. It looks really nice that way. Let's look at the yellow one right now. So this is also a folk size instrument, just like the one I just showed you, but it has a cutaway also, and it looks kind of nice like that. Of course, the point of the cutaway is to allow for easy access to the higher frets. So just for you to see the wood, it's probably basswood all around or whitewood in the neck, something like that. Just your basic tuners up there. The bridge looks nice and tight. You will see, I'll talk about this in a minute, you will see small cosmetic imperfections here and there. You know, for a guitar at that price range, that's to be expected. Easy to hold. It almost feels like a full-size instrument. Again, it's a folk size. So those two are Dreadnought size, so I'll show that in a minute. Let's see. Like I said, the strings are still stretching, so it's gonna be a while before they stay in tune. But I gotta say, the tuners are pretty decent holding the guitar in tune. So let's see. I have a hard time keeping my fingers in the frets because they're so small, and the strings are close, too close for me, for a classical player. But if you play acoustic or electric, this is quite normal. So yeah, here we have the second one. Let me show you the Dreadnought size guitars right now. So this one is a full-size Dreadnought size acoustic with a cutaway here, which of course allows for easier access to the higher frets. Now the finish on these two is satin. It's a satin finish, so it's not the shiny lacquer that you have on those. And that looks really nice. That usually helps with projecting the sound better too. So yeah, it's satin finish throughout, also the back of the neck, so it feels really nice. And this is bulkier, so it's a Dreadnought size, a full size. This is more suitable for like a fully grown teenager or, you know, an adult. I wouldn't use this size for like a 4th or a 5th grader unless they're really tall. Strings are still stretching, so you'll have to bear with me. Let's hear the sound a little bit. Yeah, I don't know if my inexpensive microphone does it justice. It's got a nice big sound, absolutely. Yeah, it's got a nice big sound. It does have binding throughout, which makes it look really nice, a nice contrast there. And like I said, they all come with installed strut buttons and a truss rod, so that's great. Let's look at the other one. So this one is also a full-size Dreadnought size acoustic with a cutaway, with a satin finish, but a Sunburst color. So that looks great. Red back and sides, and Sunburst top. Nothing different from the other one, just the color. Same type of instrument. Let's hear the sound a little bit. Here we go. That's out of tune. Oh, here we go. So that's that. Now let me share a few thoughts, a few general thoughts about these guitars. Put this one back. So let me share a few thoughts about these guitars. And again, I have 20 of these. I have 5 of each model. And again, I did that because I wanted to see if a lot of them would be acceptable and good enough to keep. And like I said before, out of 20 guitars that I opened the other day, actually it took me a couple of days, only one of them had to go back. That one had a cracked heel, you know, the place where the neck meets the body of the instrument. And that could have happened in the factory or maybe on the truck if the box was dropped on its top. Then the heel usually goes first. But I gotta say, this company has very good return policies. They didn't ask any questions. I just went back on Amazon and I filled out a quick form. It took me less than a minute and I explained what the problem was. Immediately they gave me a return label and actually shipped out a replacement even before I got to ship mine out the next day. So great return policies. So that's a good sign, because then you can know that even if you get a bad instrument, you can always replace it or return it and get your money back. But again, out of 20 instruments, 5 of each that you see behind me, only one had to go back because it had a crack in the heel. Now, about half of them, I gotta say, needed a setup. Now, that's to be expected with any guitar, really, that you buy online. Especially if it's Amazon or eBay or you know, almost any other website where you can buy an instrument. Most acoustic guitars will need a setup. About 10 of these needed truss rod adjustment. Some of the guitars had the strings too high. Some of them had the strings too low to the point where everything was a buzz. You couldn't get a clean sound out of it. So then you'll have to know how to adjust the truss rod with the wrench that they do include. So that's great. And I gotta say that adjustment worked really well. It was easy to do it. It wasn't one of those rusty truss rods that you cannot even move. I also have to say that on the Sunburst, the wrenches that they provide for the truss rod do not fit. So I have a whole bunch of wrenches, so I had to use one of my own. You will need, if you get this one, and if you have to do a truss rod adjustment, you will likely need a smaller wrench, and then I had no problem adjusting those. So what could you expect with these instruments? You'll get a decent instrument for the money. 70-ish, 80-ish here, or 90. I don't remember, because it was about a week ago before when I placed the order. So 70, 80, 90, something like that. Well under $100, free shipping on Amazon, and each instrument came with a gig bag, installed strap pins, a strap, cleaning cloth, extra set of strings, some picks in there, a truss rod wrench. So that's great. Also, they all come with a pickup, with a pick guard if you want to install it. I'm not going to do that because that's always a problem if you have an air bubble in there, or if you place it wrong, it's difficult to move it. So I just won't deal with a pick guard on these. They look just fine the way they are. Let's talk about cosmetic imperfections. Now, when you purchase an instrument under $200 or $300 online, or really anywhere, you should expect some cosmetic imperfections. Now, some of these had none, so that's great. But some of these did have small, almost unnoticeable cosmetic imperfections, like little smudges and a little ding, or maybe a little place where the glue bled over, something like that. You won't notice them right away, but they're there. If you play it if you look at it if you hold it for a while, you will notice some cosmetic imperfections. At this price range, I would say you need to be okay with that. I mean, if the instrument works, if there's no structural damage, if the instrument works and sounds decent, and it looks great, I would be okay at this price range with some small cosmetic imperfections. I don't know what else to share with you. I would recommend these for basically any age, except like I said, these full-size Dreadnought acoustic instrument would be too big for somebody in an elementary school unless they were really tall. So I would stick with these for, you know, school-age children and maybe early teens and even teens, or adults that are looking for an instrument that's easier to hold and play. And I would recommend these for an adult because they are bulky. So if you're looking for something to start on and don't want to spend a lot of money because you're not sure you're going to keep it up, right? Or if you have children and you want them to start and try, but you don't want to spend, you know, $600 on a decent guitar, this is a good place to start, in my opinion. The instrument will work. Then you can commit to maybe 6 months of lessons, and if the student continues, then you can invest in a better instrument. Also, parents sometimes will rent an instrument. I guess it makes sense with orchestra instruments and band instruments like a violin or a saxophone, because those are more expensive. And if you buy a violin for $70, that's gonna be trash pretty much. Some guitars are acceptable for beginners at about $100 or a little bit less, like these. But anyways, renting a guitar is probably a bad idea nowadays because something like this will work just fine for 6 months to a year if the child takes good care of them. And if you rent an instrument, you'll pay like $30 a month or so, and in like 3 months you already paid for the instrument and you can just keep it, you know. So I would say don't rent an instrument if you're not sure your child's going to keep up with lessons. Just get something that's not very expensive, and then if they quit, you know, as it sometimes happens, then you wouldn't have spent a lot of money. So recommend these for the price, absolutely. Let me know if you have any questions or comments in the bottom section. Thank you for watching my video, and I'll see you next time. Have a nice day.